Hello, hello. Welcome to one more LinkedIn Live. I was actually missing doing lives. I think the last one I did was in November last year, so it has been a while. I'm happy to be back. Welcome to everyone who is here live with me, the ones that are arriving now, and also the ones who are watching the recording. You're very welcome. I hope you enjoy this experience too. It's always better to be live because you can ask questions. But if you couldn't be here live, it's also fine. You can watch the recording. Today we are going to talk about cover letters. Yeah, cover letters revealed, exposing the truth behind what recruiters want. So my name is Juliana Rabi, career coach for remote jobs, and I will bring a special guest who is a recruiter, and she is very into, like, she's updated about cover letter because that's the reality, right? She deals with cover letters every day as a recruiter. So she's going to bring her perspective also to I have some questions for her. So I prepared upfront some interesting questions based also on what my clients ask me. So I'm kind of bringing the questions and the doubts of my clients, and you watching will also have the chance to ask questions about cover letter, and we're going to answer live. So this is going to be fun. I hope you enjoy the process. And to start, for the ones who are live with me, some people are connecting. So welcome everyone. I want to invite you to let us know in the chat where are you connecting from, okay? City and country, because I know I have a very international audience. I'm always curious to see where people are coming from. We have Rafa, hi, hello, hello. Rafa here. More people will be joining. So if you're watching live, also if you can confirm if the transmission is working fine on YouTube, if there is someone already connected on YouTube and also on LinkedIn, just let me know. We are streaming to two different platforms, so there's always the technical part that I have to take care here. So if you're watching live and you can say hi in the chat, confirm that the sound is okay, all those things, just for me to make sure that it's all good. And also let me know where are you connecting from, okay? If you can write in the chat, that's going to be good. Juliana, yeah, same name as me, Juliana. Nice to see you again. Are you in Porto at the moment? Juliana, are you in Portugal at the moment? Nice to have you here. Rafa too. Okay, we have a LinkedIn user that I don't see the name for some reason, from Sabra Santa Monica. Sabra Monica, sorry, California. We also have Etienne. Hi, Playa del Carmen. Nice to have you here. Everyone is very welcome. Nice to see. I think we have Brazil, Portugal, US, and Mexico here. Yeah, so far so good. Very nice. So keep it coming in the chat. Boniface here from Kenya, Nairobi. Nice. YouTube is perfect. Thank you. Thank you for the confirmation. I'm always a bit worried about the tech situation. So thank you. Thank you, Boniface, for confirming that. And we have Katarina from Toronto. Nice. Welcome, Katarina. Nice to have you here. More people will be arriving, so everyone is welcome. But I want to start on time because we actually have a lot to talk about. This topic is huge. We are obviously like reducing a little bit, but I want to go straight to the point and add value to you. So if you're watching the recording or if you are watching live, my goal is that you take practical things that you can implement next time you have to write a cover letter, or to help you decide if you really need to write cover letters. Is this still a thing in 2024? And have like practical tips to help you to write better cover letters if you decide to write them, okay? um, let's start bringing my guest here on the stage. So I'm going to bring Angela. Hello, how
Hello,
are
Jay.
you?
Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you here. So Angela is a talent acquisition, a recruiter. She has a lot of experience in this area, recruitment in general, but also international experience. You're living in Dubai, right? For many years.
Exactly. Yeah, I lived there for almost 6.5 years. So
Wow, nice. And now where are you now? Where are you
now I'm
based
based in
now?
Barcelona in Spain.
Nice, nice, perfect. So Angela has this mix of international experience, interviewing candidates from all over the world. So I think this is also interesting because we have people here watching from different countries. So what we're going to share is not the perspective of one specific country about
Mhm.
cover letters. Is pretty much a global, right, perspective. And Angela, I have some questions for you. Can I start with my questions?
Of course,
Yes?
read them out.
Okay, good, good. Oh, before that, do you want to introduce yourself a bit more? Say a few things more about you, a longer introduction.
Yeah, so well, as Juliana said, I've been in recruitment for almost 5 years already. So I started my career in recruitment with one of the biggest airlines in the world in Dubai, United Arab Emirates. Then, COVID brought me back to Spain, my home country, and now I'm based in Barcelona, where I have been working with a few startups and scale ups. So now I'm having like the visibility of more like a tech company, not like a super big corporation as before.
Nice, very impressive, very impressive. So thank you once again for accepting my invitation. Welcome to Elvis and Alistair, who joined also from Canada, from UK. So everyone is very welcome. Before I start asking you the questions, Angela, I want to keep the communication open also with the ones who are watching live. So we have the chat. You can write down your questions. You can write comments. You can share your opinion about what we are going to talk here. So, I mean, Angela and I have the mic. That's how it works. But I want to give you voice also. So if you want to say something, ask questions. If you have a comment, maybe you want to share your example about a situation that happened regarding cover letter. So please feel free to use the chat. I'm going to be checking it from time to time. So that's our way to communicate. And we also want to answer questions that you might have. So I will start because I did my homework. I prepared some questions, but I'll be happy to bring questions from the audience too. Okay, so let's start. Angela, my first question to you is like, why cover letter? Like, why are we here? Does it still make sense? In 2024, there is AI. There are, people saying a cover letter is useless. So there is so much going on around cover letter. So is it still a thing? Does it still make sense to talk about cover letters in 2024?
Yeah, this is a great question, Juliana, and it's a little bit of a controversial topic. I believe that in certain industries or more old school type of companies, cover letters are pretty much still mandatory. So we want it or not, they are here to stay. However, we are slowly seeing a trend of using more innovative tools at the application stage, such as short one-way video presentations. But even if the format might change and evolve within time, the principle will remain the same, right? That is providing more evidence to the hiring team and more convincing reasons that you are the right fit for the role. So I believe that investing in perfecting this technique can only step up your application game.
Yeah, you mentioned that some old school companies still requires cover letter. I agree with you, but what I see also, Angela, is that like top remote companies, for example, they are also asking for cover letters, right? So the old school companies, let's say more traditional industries, they probably still have this as a standard step in the application process. But I see new companies or more modern companies, for example, the ones that fully embraced remote work or like remote first companies that started already as remote companies, they also, some of them, not all of them, but some of them also ask for cover letters. So I think there is a mix between the traditional companies but also more modern ones, right? Do you see the same thing?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, what I have seen in tech companies so far is that sometimes it's kind of optional to provide a cover letter. So it's good that at least they provide that option and don't make it mandatory. But
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, each
yeah.
company is world. So
Well, you said it's good that they give this option, right? They don't make it mandatory. But what I also know is that some job seekers, they consider a waste of time to put all the energy, think about how to write a cover letter, write it well and all of that, because they assume that recruiters and hiring managers will not read that, right? So do you, like, based on your experience, because you are on the other side of the recruitment part, so you are the one receiving some cover letters and maybe reading them, maybe not. You also talk to the hiring manager. So do they also pay attention to it, or they think it's like, oh, it's a waste of time, not even send it to me, or they never say that they read it? What is your experience as a recruiter and the hiring manager experience also? Like, people read cover letters? Really?
So the answer to this question is it depends on the person, right? So I can generalize for every recruiter and hiring manager out there. I have personally worked with hiring managers that they tend to put a lot of attention into the cover letters. And as a recruiter, I personally read them, but I also have to say that the level of in-depth reading that I do depends on the profile and the length of the cover letter. So let me explain that. If it's a profile that after reading the resume, I'm not 100% sure if they could be a good fit, I ensure I put extra time into reading their cover letter very carefully and understanding if they have any transferable skills that might be useful for this role, or to understand further the motivation. However, if I receive, let's say, a cover letter that is 3 pages, I need to skim through the information, right, and focus on finding the key data points that I need. Because first, I need to be efficient with my time. And second, this is kind of giving me a message that this person might not be able to summarize information effectively, and they might not be able to put themselves into the reader's shoes, right? So they might be lacking this kind of lack of self-awareness or emotional intelligence. Depending on what they're applying for, this can be quite detrimental to their applications.
Wow. So I'm like trying to put myself in the role of a job seeker, because I was a job seeker, right? Different moments of my life. So I can recall that. And when I was writing cover letters, I was always like, I need to cause a good impression. I will try to mention as much as possible. I really want to make, this document the thing that's going to help me to land the interview and all of that. So it's easy to think that the longer, the better, because it's like I can put more information, right? It's a kind of logical thinking. But based on what you are sharing, it's the other way around. If it is too long, if the cover letter has like 3 pages, you might not even read the document, right? Exactly. So I lose all the time and all the potential that there was in that document because I wrote too much. So too much is not good. Is that a too short size of cover letter or no?
I mean,
like a one paragraph. A cover letter if I write one paragraph.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
3 lines.
Just keep it in one paragraph, right? Like balance is key. I would say like 1 page would be the ideal length, right? So yeah.
Okay, but not too long. Too long can go against. Okay. Yeah, and it's like recruiters are busy. I was a recruiter for 15 years, so I remember very well like the workload that I have, the different numbers of open positions at the same time. I'm sure you face the same thing, Angela. So when it's too long, even the resume, like the same principle applies, right? I know it's not fair, but we immediately feel lazy. It's like, oof, I don't have time to read a 5-page resume. So maybe the person is a great candidate, but if it's too long, the information, me as a recruiter, I don't have the time to read. So too much information is not good, but it's not to go for one paragraph. So we need to find a middle a middle point here if we decide to go for the cover letter. So make sure that we're increasing the chances that people will read, because as you said, it depends on the recruiter, it depends on the hire. So like there is no guarantee, right, that people will read it. Speaking like sincerely, there is no guarantee.
Exactly. I mean, I would say it depends on the person, right? So that's why you should make whatever it is in your hand to ensure you're doing the right thing from your side, and then it depends on the other person if they are like for that they should, right, to read the cover letter.
Yeah. Well, regarding to that, Aura asked an interesting question. She was like, in various surveys, it has been revealed that on LinkedIn that 70 to 80% of recruiters in Mexico, okay, she's talking about Mexico, do not prioritize the cover letter, with some not even reading it. Okay, I'm curious about the percentage figures for similar surveys conducted in UK and Spain. Does anyone have insights on this? I don't, Aurea. I don't have numbers because you're so specific here that I'm afraid to bring numbers that I don't have the proper data. But what I will say, Aura, based on what you shared, is that what I believe is that if the recruiter doesn't want to read a cover letter, or if the person knows that that hiring manager doesn't care about it. Please, recruiters, if you're watching this, don't make us waste our time as candidates, and don't ask for a document that you don't care about and that hiring managers will not read. So this is the first thing, right? I think recruiters and companies should be careful with the candidate's time, and then if they are going to put the time to read the cover letter, then they might ask for it. But if already they know they won't read, like you mentioned, right? With some not even read it. So it's a waste of time. But of course, as a candidate, you don't know because you're outside of the process. So this is like a begging thing for recruiters. Just don't ask for cover letters if you won't read them. This is the first thing. Also, what I noticed is that based in my experience, when I was handling different positions at the same time, I recall as a recruiter, sometimes I had like 14, 15 open positions at the same time. So I was recruiting 15 different positions at a time. Out of the 15, I had maybe half of the hiring managers. I'm thinking about what specific company. Half of the hiring managers would read the cover letter. The other half would not read the cover letter. Okay. So Aura, I don't have the numbers, but I will say it's kind of, it's a mix. The country might have an influence, as you shared this very specific data in Mexico. Looks like in Mexico it is not a thing. But I will say this also: if it is mandatory to send a cover letter, you as a job seeker, you have only two options: or do you send the cover letter, or you don't apply for the job. So we actually never know what is going to happen on the other side. But I hope that if people are asking for cover letters, they are taking the time to read them, because otherwise, it doesn't make any kind of sense here. But I don't have a data so specific as the one that you shared, Aurea. So yeah, do you have this data, Angela?
Yeah, I don't
more
have
about
any specific data about that, but I fully support what you have just mentioned.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to my third question to you, Angela, which is if the job seeker, right, not you, Angela, but if a job seeker decides to write a cover letter, what is the material? What is the information? What are the things that he needs to think and prepare before writing the cover letter? What is the material, the information, the data that should be like accessible on the computer, on a pen and paper, on his brain before start writing the cover letter?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So before you start creating a cover letter, there are some things that you need to have handy, right? So first up is your resume. Make sure it's up to date and ready to go, as you will be using it as a guideline to write your cover letter. Make sure that you have mentioned your main accomplishments. So what are your main accomplishments? So they are those moments where you have really shined in your career. Second is you should be doing your homework about the company. So just go to their website, understand what is their mission, their vision, what products or services they have, and things like that, because this will help you tailor your cover letter to ensure it fits their vibe. Let's not forget about motivation. So you should think about what gets you pumped about that role and that specific company. Maybe it's their data-driven approach, or maybe it's because their mission is to make the world a better place for everyone. So whatever it is, just make it clear in your cover letter. And then you should also think about what are your main selling points, right? So what is the value that you bring to the table? You need to know what is your value proposition, what makes you stand out. So maybe you are a top-notch communicator, or you have an unconventional background that could add a fresh perspective to this new role and company. So whatever it is, make sure that you are able to articulate it. And lastly, but not least, just don't dive into writing it just yet. Just take a moment to organize your thoughts, grab a pen and paper, or just a simple Google Doc, but basically brainstorm your key points and how you want to structure your cover letter, because this will make the process of writing it way more smoother.
Wow, a lot of things. I have a lot of questions based on what you shared, but I'm going to start bringing the question from Boniface here. So the question is, should a cover letter act as a summary of the job application? Mm-hmm. First, let's understand what is the summary, right? And what is the job application? Because on the resume, you have a summary. You should have a summary or a career highlights or highlights, which is like on the initial part of the resume, you summarize, you bring the the information that is more relevant to that specific job that you're presenting. It's like the trailer of a movie, right?
Mhm.
So you highlight things that when the recruiter reads, he's going to be like, oh, this is a match with what I'm looking for. Oh, this is exactly the kind of skill or experience I was looking for. So this is the summary on the resume, right? Just maybe someone is not familiar with the word summary in this context. And then the question is, should a cover letter act as a summary of the job applicant? So like a introduction, a presentation. So how do you see that, Angela?
Yeah, I don't necessarily see that it should be a summary of the job applicant. I see it like a supporting document to kind of extend more on the information that you cannot really put or explain into your resume. So it should be something like a complementary or like additional support to show the hiring team why you're a good fit for the role, but not necessarily a summary.
Okay. Yeah, mistake that I see very common. And when I was a recruiter, I was reading a lot of cover letters, not all of them, but a lot. And now as a career coach, I also help my clients writing cover letters. What I used to see, a common mistake is like copying and paste the same information that is on the resume, just like one piece here, one piece there, like summarizing the resume and copying the exactly same information on the cover letter. So I was reading, I was like, I'm wasting my time here because I already read all of that on the resume. So you said it should be a complementary document. You use this word, right? A complementary, which is, I totally agree. If you decide to write a cover letter, make it a third point in the application, apart from the LinkedIn, apart from the resume, apart from maybe questions that you need to fill up. I hate this, but sometimes you need to fill up a lot of questions in the application process. So you take like almost an hour filling up there. But anyways, make it another thing, another source of information. It's not about copying and paste everything. It's like, what else can I share in this document, in the cover letter, that I didn't mention before, that makes me stand out from other candidates, that complements the information? Maybe a career gap. It's a very good thing that you can cover in the cover letter, right? Why do I have this career gap? You won't have space, and it's not the best place to talk in details about it on the resume or on LinkedIn, but the cover letter could be. Also, maybe things you could do for that specific company based on what you extract from the job description, from the needs of the company. What can you do for them if you are hired for that company? And as you said, like the skills, the experience that will really click with them. But it's not about copying and pasting. So not necessarily summarizing the resume, but making it like a third piece, an extra piece of the job application, instead of just repeating what is on the resume, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay. Okay. There is another question here from Alistair. I'm seeing loads of long job descriptions. Me too. I hear you. With a lot of stated requirements. True, it's almost like a wish list, a Santa Claus list. I always say that. It's like 20, 30 requirements. It's like, really? Do I need to have all of that for this job? But okay, anyways, back to the question. I show my match to maybe my strongest 10 or 20. I do stick to one page. It takes time, so I hope the recruiters do look. Well, I also hope that, Alistair, because I know it takes time to write a cover letter. That's why we decided to do this now, because it's like, do we still need to do cover letters? This is the question. And then if we do, how we optimize the process, because hopefully someone on the other side is gonna read that. But I agree that long cover letters, they can be like more confusing than helpful, because it's like, how can I meet all those requirements? So you start feeling insecure about, do I meet the requirements for this job or not? And which skills, which experience should I highlight? But the same thing happen if it's like this small cover letter. I'm sure you have seen those ones, Angela. They say nothing. It's like 3 lines, and it's like, really? That's all the information I get? So it shouldn't be a super small job description, shouldn't be a super long, but something intermediate. So, Alistair, I hear you. I'm with you here. We can just hope that people will read the cover letter. I mean, there is no guarantee about it. Yeah. Hopefully they will. Okay. Back to what you said, Angela. You said like collect all the material, the resume. So just to summarize, because you said so many things, I just want to make sure people understand. You said bring the resume, have the resume updated and ready. What else? What was the second thing you mentioned?
Yeah, do the homework about the company you're applying for. So basically have an understanding of it, about the products, services, mission, vision, so you can tailor your cover letter according to this.
Nice.
Motivation, so have a clear idea about what you are motivated to apply for that role and company, and know your value proposition.
Okay, what is a value proposition? Can you give an example?
Yeah, so this is what makes you stand out from other candidates. What's your main selling point? So yeah, as kind of like mentioned before, if you, for example, have an unconventional background and you can bring like a fresh perspective to this new industry, or maybe you are a multilingual and this will be kind of super valuable for that specific company, as they are like have international operations, things like that, things that basically are with the skills that you stand out for and that can bring or that can bring value to the company you're applying for.
Okay, yeah, I like that, because a lot of times all resumes look the same, and I'm sure you had this realization, especially if you're like one day you're reviewing 30, 40, 50 resumes. At some point it's like, wow, they all look the same, right? Because it's a very formal document, the resume, right? It has a certain structure. It's written in a more formal way in the third person. So all of that makes resume, I mean, you still find one here and there that really stand out, but in general, for a resume to really stand out, it takes a lot of time, right? I actually have a online course that teaches people to write resumes to apply for a remote job, because I know how hard it is. And I know that you need to really refine and like pay attention to the details to actually have a good resume. But the cover letter can be this support material, this extra thing, supporting doc, that you pick up what you realize that is more important for that company and you talk about it. So it's kind of putting the lights into your best skill, your best experience, that thing that if the company knows about it, I'm sure they're going to be at least curious to interview me, which is exactly what you want, right? That's the whole purpose of the cover letter and the resume, to get you a job interview. So I like the value proposition that you said, like if you have an unconventional background, if you have something that is a clear match to the company, make sure that you pick that thing out of your resume and you place on the cover letter and you write about it in a nice way. So people will, if they read, hopefully you're going to read the cover letter, they are going to be interested in interviewing you and knowing more about that. So be strategic also about the information that you mentioned in the cover letter. Nice, Angela. Now, it would be silly in 2024 talk about cover letter, pretty much everything related to job searching, recruitment, and all of that, if we don't talk about AI, right? So let's bring this important topic to the table, because I speak to a lot of job seekers and they are like, well, my cover letter now, I do it in 2 minutes. I just copy and paste my resume and the cover letter on ChatGPT and I say, hey, can you create a cover letter? So I copy and paste. That's it. I just format and I send the cover letter. I know some people are doing it. I know it is possible, right? I even, like I shared in one event I did a few days ago, I shared the prompts to do that. Like, what do you need to tell ChatGPT about it? But what else can be done? How do you see this relation, Angela, between AI and how we can save time when writing a job cover letter, but still having a good one?
Yeah, so I think AI can help you massively in this process, especially if you have a rough idea of what you want to write, but you cannot really come up with those specific words that will make it look great. So yeah, of course, one of my go-to tools is ChatGPT. So you can give it prompts like, for example, act as a professional cover letter writer or act as a successful copywriter. And then you can just spill out all your thoughts, even if they're a bit messy. And ChatGPT will help basically shape those raw ideas into something pretty and that is tailor-made to your target audience. So yeah, and apart from that, another thing that I love about ChatGPT is that it can help you adjust the tone of voice of your cover letter so that you can tailor it for the company you're applying for. So for example, if it's like a more formal corporation or like more laid back type of startup, you can adjust the tone of voice of the cover letter to, yes, better tailor for that company.
Yeah, this thing about the tone of voice is interesting, right? Because I haven't heard about it, I don't know, long time ago, but in ChatGPT, it is a thing, right? You can always ask the chat to adjust the tone of voice. So it's not the voice, verbal voice, but like the way of writing. So it doesn't sound like a robot. It sounds more like you, or more like the audience, the person or the company you want to talk to. So how can I know the tone of voice, as you mentioned that, right? I can ask ChatGPT to sound more like this, or adjust the tone of voice for that. How can I get this feeling about what is the tone of voice of the company I am writing this cover letter for? How can I get this information?
Yeah, here is where your research comes in handy. So basically, from visiting their website, their LinkedIn pages, any photos that they have about the employees. So for example, if you see that the employees are all dressed in a suit, so you can assume that maybe they are like a more corporate environment. If you see that the photos of their employees are more like, I don't know, kind of casual clothes, you can assume that they are a little bit more laid back, right? So yeah, basically from your research, and that's why it's super important.
Yes, nice. We are going towards the end of the live. So for the ones who are watching live, feel free to share your questions in the chat. Okay, I'm happy to bring them here on the screen, and then we talk about them. So if you're watching live and if you have any question, please go for it now. Share in the chat. We still have a few minutes to answer that. If you're watching the recording, thank you again for your time. I hope you're enjoying. Angela, practical questions here regarding the format. Do you suggest like PDF, Word, Canva? It doesn't really matter. Like, is there a preferred format to save the cover letter, or it doesn't matter?
Well, I personally prefer PDF format for both resumes and cover letters, because you ensure it's compatible with all operating systems out there, and it just makes it easier and quicker for the hiring team or the recruiter to download it or save it and things like that. However, I would never reject someone because they are sending me a cover letter in other format, of course, if the content of the cover letter is great. So yeah. And then, well, Canva is a super interesting tool if you want to go the extra mile and personalize that cover letter, for example, with the logo of the company or with the colors or the typography. But you can also download it in a PDF format. So yeah.
I have some clients doing that. So they create cover letters that look just like, the company's page, the same colors, the same logo. I mean, it takes more time, obviously, but I like to say that first, if you really care about the company, if this is like the company you want to work for, your dream job, and it's like a very good fit for you, it might be worth for you to put more effort in that cover letter, personalize like the colors, the layout, and all of that, so you can go that extra mile. And the second thing I like to say is pay attention if on the application page there is a mandatory format, because sometimes there is, right? Sometimes you see upload the document in PDF or in Word. So in this case, you don't need to be thinking upfront, or what is the best format. The best format is the one that the company accepts. So if the company makes a format mandatory, just stick to it. You're good to go. If there is no format, they don't say gotta be a PDF or a Word or Canva or whatever, then you can go for PDF, for example, as Angela suggested. But check the application stage, the application platform, and if there is a mandatory format. If it's mandatory, you won't be able to upload any other format. So there is no discussion, right? You just stick to what they said. Okay, nice. Any other comment, Angela? Any other thing that we didn't speak about that you consider important?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I like your remark, as well as follow the guidelines of the application, right? So don't get too creative. And this is also kind of to assess your attention to detail. So if they are asking you to submit it in a specific format and then you submit it in other format, that means that you are not like reading the application properly. So that's a really important point.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the details matter. So as you said, like follow the instructions, check the format that the company asks for the cover letter. I like to say also to mention the job title of the position you are applying for. So mention that in the upper part of the cover letter, because imagine that recruiters save the cover letter and save the resume, but then they didn't save it together, so they don't remember for which position you applied for. And you might think they're going to read the resume and the cover letter together, but they might read it separate. So just make it easier, right? As easier as possible to the other person, and write down the position you're applying for, your full name, your email address, your LinkedIn profile, because if the resume gets lost somewhere on the internet, on the computer, whatever, those things happen. They have the full information, like they understand who are you, which position you're applying for, and how to contact you in case they want to do that. Okay. We have one more question here. Let me bring it to the screen from Etienne. How much of the cover letter can be shared and how much customized for each application? I'm not sure if I understand the can be shared. I'm not sure I understand the first part. I understand the second part, how much customized for each application it is. So Etienne, if you want to explain better the first part, I'm not sure I understand. But Angela, what can you say about that?
Yeah, so let's address the second part of the question because I'm not really sure about what
Yeah,
she
about the first.
meant.
Let's talk about the second.
Sure.
How much customized for each job application a cover letter can be?
Yeah, I mean, that depends a bit of your individual situation, right? I personally suggest that it should be as personalized as possible. But yeah, I appreciate that, for example, if you're applying mass volume and if this cover letter option is optional, maybe if you don't have the time to personalize it, it's just better to not submit one at all. But if you have the time to personalize it, I think you should also be strategic and intentional in your job search as well. So it's better to just apply to 5 jobs and apply properly than applying to 30 and apply just spraying resumes, right? So from my side, I would say try to make it as personalized as possible, because you can imagine how that would make you stand out. Like most of the people, they don't really personalize the cover letters at all. So when a recruiter reads a cover letter that is personalized, it kind of like rise up over day. So yeah.
This is very connected to the final question. I'm going to make it the final question, also from Etienne. You kind of answer already, but it's such a good question. I want to bring it because I'm sure people have the same question. So thank you for asking this question. This is brilliant. Like, can I write a shared cover letter, like the same cover letter for all applications, or should I write a different one each time? Love this question. I was asked this question so many times. So what do you say about that, Angela?
Yeah, this is an excellent question. And I would say what you can replicate is the structure of it. So you should have like a main template with a main structure, and then you should personalize it based on the company and the role. So yeah, I suggest just having this template ready. So, well, we can talk about that later, but basically some paragraphs to share your skills based on the job description, then your motivation, basically the wrap up of the cover letter and things like that. But then you should personalize each cover letter based on the job requirements of that role and based on your specific motivation for that particular company that I appreciate it would change. So
yeah, I love that. The structure can remain the same, should remain the same once you have a good structure. Like you cannot skip some things, right? You should mention some things at the beginning, the middle, at the end. So the structure should remain the same. But if you use for all applications, the same cover letter, you're going to sound just like ChatGPT, a generic, empty thing that the person reads and say, it didn't add any value. Like this was a waste of time reading this cover letter. So you don't want to sound generic. You want to sound very specific to that company, to that position, highlighting your skills, your ability in a way that they read and they can almost like close their eyes and visualize you doing the job, because it's so unique. It's so speaking to them directly that there is this clear match. So yeah, good question. I know this is a very common doubt. So yeah. Nice, nice. We're going towards the end of the live. There are more questions, but I want to keep it in a bit short. You know, I don't want to make it too long. So you can keep asking questions in the chat. We can maybe answer them there. Angela, thank you very much for your presence, for all your wisdom that you shared here. Thank you
Absolutely.
for that.
Thanks a lot for having me again.
Yeah, thank you for watching the live. Everyone who was live with us, thank you for your comments. Thank you for interacting. Keep an eye for more lives. I'm planning another one for the next few days, so just keep an eye about another hot topic related to job searching. And yeah, for the ones watching, also thank you for your time watching until now. And have a nice day, evening, morning, whatever part of the world you are. And I will see you soon in my next live. Take care. Bye. Ciao.